All right, let's take a look at all of this and see where we're going with this. As we can see, um, we are now at 10.3 uh, and also 10.4 as far as the quiz is concerned. Let's take a look at this. It says describe the shape of each distribution. Once again, describe the shape of each distribution. And we're going to look at this right now. We're dealing with, of course, number one. I'm going to put that down as far as that, and let's take a look at it. And it says describe the shape of each distribution. As we can see right now, if we look at this, you look at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and as we can see, all of the data, or the majority of the data I should say, is on the right side, letting us know that if it's on the right side, that you see a slope right here. I'm going to show you the little slope. They call it a tail. I like to call it like a little ski slope, if you want to call it that, as far as that. But you can see that right there. That right there lets us know if the majority of the data is on the right side, this is what we call left skewed. So this is a left skewed shape. Okay, a left skewed shape. So number one, it is left. I'm going to write it down for you. Skewed. I love saying that, skewed. Alright, so that's where we're at for number one. Let's take a look at number two. They're very, very similar as far as the actual types of problems. And we're looking at this right now. It says museum attendance. As we can see, this is what called you got it, a histogram. So this histogram right now, we can look at this right now. We look at how it's shaped. All, or the majority of the data is on what side? You got it. It's on the right side. So let's take a look at this little slope right here, or the tail. You know, I love to call it a ski slope as far as that, but you can see the tail is going down. It's going down from the left to the right. So you are right. If anyone said that it is a right skewed, you are correct. Right skewed. Excellent. Right skewed. Good job on that. Okay. All right, let's take a look at number three. And we're going to read that question as far as number three is concerned. It says choose the most appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation. Find the measures you choose. So, if you look at that, once again, I said choose the measures of the appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation. Find the measures, you chose. This right here is very, very important. There are key words that we're looking at. First of all, when we talk about center, anytime you hear that in an actual sentence, you know we're talking about right then and there, the median. Very, very important if they say center. And then it says the center and the variations from the actual center. So now we're talking about what? Quartiles. You got it. So we need to find, in this case, probably, I won't say probably, exactly the interquartile. Very, very key words. They're not saying median, and they're not saying interquartile or quartile. They're saying center and variations. So the wording of what they're asking for is very, very important. So if we hear center, we know it means what? Median. Variation of the actual center, we know they're talking about quartiles and interquartiles. Now let's go after this problem. Okay. So we're looking at right now, it says price of shoes, and we're seeing this right now, the price of shoes, and they're giving you different prices of the actual shoes and how many shoes they basically have, prices as far as dollars and all those things. So we're looking at that, and I just put something for 20, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, and of course 48. So the first thing we got to look at is how many types of shoes do we have based on different pricing. So if we look at this right now, we can see, of course, we have what? 20, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is at 32, 5, 6, this is 30, of course 6, 40 is 7, 8, 9, 10, and now we have 44, 11, 12, 13, and what else? You got that, 14. So let's make one more count of all this, as we can definitely see it. So we're looking at these actual numbers, and now that's very, very important because we have to find the actual median, right? So we already know it's 14 numbers all together. So we know what is the actual midpoint. Our midpoint is going to be what? If you said it correctly. It's going to be 7 and 8. 7 and 8. So now, from the dots, watch me count. Okay? Starting at 20. 1, put a line through it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? Right now we know 7 and 8 are the numbers that we are going to use for the median. Alright? You see the dots. That's dot number 7 and dot number 8. Where is it at? It's at the price of 40. So what are we going to do at that particular point? We are going to now add 40 and 40, which represents dot number 7 and dot number 8. Okay? 40 plus 40, and then what are we going to do? You've got it. To find the median, we have to divide those numbers by 2. Okay? Because those are the two numbers that we're basically using. So we know it's equals 80 up here, and then 80 divided by 2, okay, gives you what? You got it. Equals 40. So that's where we're at right now. So the median is what? The median is 40. Good job. Median. So 40 is the median. Okay? We've got that. Now, let's go a little further as far as that. We're talking about quartiles, right? So this is what we're going to do. We've got to find the first quartile. The first quartile is typically always going to be left of the median. Okay? It's going to be left of the median. It's going to be left of the first median in this particular case, as far as, or the first number that gets us the actual median. And it's also, the first quartile is what? It's going to be the half point between the furthest number that is left of the actual median. Let's take a count and see what we got right now as far as that, and go from there. So if we look at this right now, we got 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, 5, 6. All right. So we need to be somewhere in the middle of this. Remember that, because our median starts with the dot number 7 and 8. So we're right here, these 6 numbers, or these 6 dots right here. Okay? So where do we start? You got it. It is going to be, the first quartile is going to be plain and simple. It is, of course, the third quartile, or the first, which is going to be 32. Okay? 1, 2, 3. You've got that. There it is right there. That is the actual number. That's the third one. It is 32. Remember that. Okay? So we're going to write that down for the first quartile. All right? Which is what? First quartile equals 32. And we showed you how you got that actual 32. Fantastic. Now, let us find what? The third or final quartile. Very, very important. Okay? Writing that down, the third quartile. And let's find that. The third quartile is usually on the right side of the actual median. Okay? So let's basically give a count and see where we're at as far as that. Okay? Let's take a look at this. We're going to come back over here to my actual numbers. Let's count these dots, starting from the furthest from the median on the right side. 1, make a mark. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're counting right there. 5, 6. Okay, and don't forget that would be 7, which would be number 8 for you. Very, Very, very important. So now we're looking for what quartile, which would be, of course, the third one. Okay? And the third quartile, what is the middle of that one? If we're at 7, remember we counted 7 dots, so it would be number 4. Let's see where we're at. It's 1, make a mark of it. 2, 3, 4. So the third quartile is what? If you said 44, you are correct. It is 44. So, are we basically done? Remember, what does the question ask? It says choose the appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation. Find the measures that you chose. Here's what's going on now. We've got the first quartile. We've got the third quartile. So now we need to find the actual measurement between those two. And what are we going to do? You got it. So what I'm going to do is right here, we've got to subtract. Subtract 32 from what? You got it. 44. Our answer is 12. Okay? So the interquartile, I'm going to write this down, the interquartile, or the distance between those two, the first and the third quartile, based on the fact that we had to subtract these actual numbers, is what? You got it. 12. 12. Excellent job, you all. Excellent. Interquartile is 12. Excellent. Good job. All right, let's listen, of course, or look at the actual question. Once again, we're dealing with number 4. Let's take a look at it real quick. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Number 4 is going to be somewhat long, okay? But it is very, very simple if you follow the simple steps and don't get confused. Remember, the question is telling you everything, and it's very, very important, the key words that they're using as far as the questions. Choose the most appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation. Find the measures that you chose. Very important. What's the key word in this, of course, sentence is center and variations. Okay? So, at number 4, let's take a look at this. It says commute times, okay? And it's based on minutes as far as how much times. And we know right now this is a dot diagram as far as that. So we're going to look at this and really analyze what we're talking about right now. So if you look at this right now, you can see that we have the commute times. We have, of course, our graph. And this actual plot graph is basically telling us a lot of things. And here's the first thing that we're looking at. We're looking at the numbers. It starts, of course, the numbers vary from 8 all the way to 20. Okay? So we have to first, what are we going to do? This is symmetric. So what does that mean? So we know that they're even on every side. You got the midpoint, which is 14, as we can see. And then on the left side of 14 and on the right side of 14, everything's the same. They're even on both sides. So this, we call this a symmetric. It's not something that would be a right skewed or a left skewed. Very, very important. So how do we go after that? So now we need to find the mean, okay? Because it's symmetric, we're finding the mean. So if we look at that, it's very important because it's even on both sides. We're finding the actual mean. And how do we do that? Let's go from here. Now, if we add all these dots up, so for 8, how many dots in 8? There's 1. How many dots in 10? There's 2. How many dots in 12? There's 3. How many dots in 14? As you can see, there are 4 dots right here. How many dots on 16? There are 3 dots. How many dots as far as 18? There are 2 dots. How many dots as far as 20? There is 1. So it's symmetric. They're all even on both sides. What is the total number of dots? If you count all of these up, and we'll do it right now, All right? You count these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There are 16 dots. That is going to be very significant, of course, as far as defining what your mean is. All right, so let's write 16 down real quick. We're going to write that number down because 16 is going to be what? You got it. It's going to be divided into this total number. So if we added all these numbers up, what do we come up with? I'm going to let you all do it. I want to tell you right now in reference to saving of time. But it comes up, if we added all these dots up, it comes up to 224. Now get with your parent right now and tell them how you came up with 224. All right? Or get with the person who's next with you, or next to you, whatever, family, and just tell them how you came up with it. Just stop what you're doing and tell them how you came up with it. We have to speak out what we know. If we hold a lot of it in, it doesn't really sink into our actual brain. So when you speak it out, you of course can really memorize the actual steps that you take, okay? And tell someone about it. It's just that simple. And if there's no one around, speak to yourself. It's just that simple once again. So when we do this, we're going to divide 16 into 24. Excuse me, 16 into 224. And what do we come up with? You got it. The answer is 14. All right? So what does the 14 represent? You got it. I am so impressed with you all. The mean, that's what it is. So the mean equals 14. So how do we find, or how do we define, in this case, something else that we need? Is called, of course, if you want to call, I love saying this as far as that, and it is called the MAD, which is the mean absolute deviation. Okay, MAD, and it stands for mean absolute deviation. It's in your book. Okay, take a look at it. Very, very important. Now we have to find that because this is a matrix. This is a metric diagram and also a symmetric shape. So how do we find that right now? Because we need to find the actual MAD. And the way we find that is we currently know that the mean is 14, right? So what we're going to do is for every number here, and I'm going to give you an example. For every number, we already have those things. You all can write it down and go over this again. If you want, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to write this down. But you can always go over this actual video because I'm about to erase this right now, some of these things, because we're going to need the space to deal with the MAD. Okay? So we have that. Now let's deal with MAD. We know what the mean is. The mean was what? You got it. The mean was 14. So now we're dealing with MAD. Alright? So the MAD, let's find that now. So we know that our mean is 14. So what do we need to do? So how do we get the MAD? I'm going to give you a couple of steps and we'll go from there. Very, very simple. The first dot, what? Represents the number 8, right? So if the first dot represents the number 8, all is well as far as that. So we'll look at that and let's go from there. And I'll bring this off. And let's see what we got. So we know that represents the number 8. And let me get on this. Okay. So it's going to be what? The actual mean minus 8. Okay. What's the next one? Let's give you a start as far as that. It's going to be what? You got it. 14 minus 10. Then we got 14 minus 10 again, and so on. Then 14 minus 12, and we keep on going till we basically subtract all the dots value from the actual mean. Okay? Once we do that, we can find the actual MAD. In this case, hypothetically, all this comes up to 40, because once we subtract everything, give you an example, That'll be 6. Write my 6 a little bit better. This will be 4. This will be 4. This will be 2, and on down the line all the way till we get to 20. Okay? So once we basically deal with all of those things, we're going to look at that, and then we would come up with the actual number and say, okay, this is where we're at. So once we have that, it comes up to 40, and I want you all to check this out and see what you come up with. But the answer will be 40. All right? Numerator, denominator. We know about those things, right? All right. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to take the amount of numbers that we had, or the amount of dots that we had. We count them from when we found our actual mean. We have how many dots? We have what? 16 dots. You got it. So if we, of course, divide that 16 into 40, we come up with what? If you do it, you can do it on your own. Matter of time, 2.5. That is our actual answer, 2.5. Good job. Good job. You're doing great. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's take a look at... Okay. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Very, very important right here. You know, the thing about math is it's about the proper steps that you take. And if you know the proper steps and you practice the actual steps, you're going to have nothing but success. And here's an example of it. It says, make, for number 5, make a box and whisker plot for the data. Once again, make a box and whisker plot for the data. Number 5, it says science test scores. You have 85, 76, 99, 84, 92, 95, 68, 100, 93, 88, 87, and 85. What is the first thing we're going to do? The first thing we're going to do is put these actual numbers in order because they're scattered all over the place. So you know you have to have order. It has to go in sequence anytime you're dealing with these actual numbers. And if you know the sequence, that's really half of the battle. So let's deal with that right now. So we're going to write down here 68. Okay. We're going to write 76. All right. We're going to write 84. We're going to write 85. We're going to write 87. We're going to write, of course, 88. We're going to write, of course, 92 and 93. Okay. The 95. All right. Then we're going to write 99. Finally, 100. So we already know the order of the values as far as the numbers go. Okay? Very, very important. So we know for a fact we're going to be dealing with right now median. First, of course, quartiles, and then, of course, the third quartile. Very, very important. That's what we're trying to find. Anytime you're dealing with box and whisker plots for data, those are the three things you're going to be searching for. Okay? So, in this case, if we look at these numbers, it's 68, 76, 84, 85, 87, 88, 92, 93, 95. You know, they're all over, all the way to 99, then, of course, 100. They're all over the place. So what is the first thing we want to do? You know, we really don't want to put all these numbers in as far as the actual plot. So we want to break this down. So what we have is, if we look at all these numbers, the number that's really the closest to generating a fantastic graph, or correct graph I should say, is a graph that is 5 places apart. Okay? 5 places apart, and we'll come back with it and I'll explain to you why we're doing it this way, because they're scattered all over, but 5 places will really cover all the actual numbers. So let's put 65. Let's put 70. Okay. Let's put 75. Okay. Let's put 80. Let's put 85. let's put 90. Excellent. 95. And then 100. Okay, it's a funny looking 100, but it is 100. Excellent. Now what we want to do, based on those numbers, we just put the little chart right here just so you all can see exactly what's going on. Because it's going to all come into play. Okay? It's all going to come into play. Remember, keywords. When it talks about a box and whisker plot for data, we're dealing with finding the median, the first quartile, and then, of course, the third quartile. So we're looking at these actual numbers, and we need to find the actual median. How do we find the actual median? Well, let's count the numbers first. We know that we have to have the numbers that are right in the middle. And if it's even numbers that we count, we know we have to basically add the two middle numbers, okay, and then divide them by 2, and that will give us the median. Now, if it's an odd number as far as the amount of numbers that we, of course, count, then we know it's going to be right smack in the middle as far as that actual odd number. So let's count this up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh, we got an odd number. So it seems as far as that. So we're going to look at this and see what we can come up with and go from there. So when I'm counting them, let's count it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So what's going on? If it's saying 12, you got it, you got it. We've got to do 85 twice, and that's why we did that. This could catch you, okay? Let me put this 85 right here because this can throw people off. You still have to basically deal with that actual number. You can't just say, oh, it's 85. You see 85 twice. So now let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we know numbers what? Numbers 6 and 7 on this actual value chart is going to be the actual numbers that we are going to add together and then divide. So if we add that, let's count that right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the numbers are 87 and 88. Okay? 87 and 88. We add those numbers up and then we divide that. What do we come up with? Our median. And our median is this. The median, let me write it down for you so you all will know. The median for this, put it right here. The median equals what? You got it. 87.5. If you add 87 and 88 together and then divide them by 2, you come up with 87.5. Okay? Very, very important. And all this is going to make sense as far as that. Stick with me. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Now, what do we need to find? Okay, so we know we have 87.5, and I'm going to write that somewhere in this actual chart so you all can see it as far as that. I'm going to go down here, and we know we got 88 and all that, and I'll put 87.5 because we know in this actual chart right here we have the actual numbers that we're looking for. So we've got 87.5 as far as the median. Now, let us now find the first what? Quartile. And we start from the left side, all right? And then we move over. And we start going towards the actual center because we know the median is what? All right, you got it. The median is 87.5. So let's take a look at this real quick. And if we count these numbers up, and we'll go from there. So now let's count. We got 87.5 that we just basically putting in the mix right now. I'm going to try to put it right here. That's in the mix. 87.5. That will play. Okay? It's just that simple. So let's go from there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. You've got those actual numbers right there. So we have that. So now, what are we going to do? So at this particular point in time, we've got to do some more. Okay, so now we're looking at this, and we know we have to count the fourth particular number. Now the thing is, we got to go back from the 87.5. Okay, now that 0.5 is there. We have to take that in consideration. So if we go back these actual 4 spots, we come up with something a little different. This may throw you off just a little bit. So if we look at it and we go back these actual 4 spots, we come up with what? 84. We come up with a number that wasn't there before, but because of the fact we now have 87.5, we now have to have 84.5. That is the first quartile. Okay? That is the first quartile. Write that down first. Quartile equals 84.5. Excellent. Now, let's take another look. And now we have to, of course, look at our situation and say, okay, now we're now dealing with the third quartile. You write that down. So if we look at the third quartile, and we'll come up, let's see what the number that we come up with as far as that. Okay? So we'll take a look at it right now. All right. So we look at this right now. We have what? 100, 99, 95, 93, 92, 88. So we know that the quartile, or the third quartile, is going to be between the actual what? 93 and 95. So if we divide that, 93 and 95, we come up with our third and final quartile, which is 94. All right, so we're going to put that right in there. That is 94. Okay. You go back 3 as far as that. There's 6 difference. There's 6 spots between them all. 88, 92, 93, 95, 99, and 100. So you would add 93 and 95 together, and then of course divide them by 2, and you come up with 94. So we have our median, which is 87.5, our first quartile, which is 84.5. Remember, things change with that actual number. And then our third quartile, which is 94. Now let's write the actual of course, box and whisker. Let's take a look at that based on the graph that we basically have right now. And we're going to look at it and see how we get this thing going for you. We're going to start where we're at. We get as close to that 84.5 as we possibly can, and as close to that 94 as we possibly can. We're going to build a box right on top of this actual graph. And we know the first one is what? You got it. 87. I'll put a line through it and put a dot. There you go. 87.5. And then we have the next one, which is, I'll put a dot, but I'm going to write it down for you also. 84.5. So I'll write that down now. 84.5. And then 87.5. And then finally, we have that fantastic number of 94. Put a number right here for you so you can see it. It's right here. That's 94. And then we'll just basically move this out to the last or the furthest number out. The furthest highest number is on the right side, and the furthest lowest number is on the left side. Excellent job. Excellent job. Way to go. All right, you all are doing absolutely fantastic. Let's go, of course, to number 6, and we'll get this going. Let me get my fantastic pencil. I love this pencil right here because this is a pencil I can never lose. It's a computer pencil. Hey. So that's really fantastic. Okay, let's take a look at this right now. It says make a box and whisker plot for the data. So anytime we see that keyword of box and whisker, we know we're going to be dealing with what? You got it. You got it. Median, right? We're going to be dealing with, of course, first quartile and, of course, the third quartile. Anytime we see a box and whisker plot for data, automatically know you're going to be dealing with that. Those are keywords that you need to know on how to set up your actual problem. Okay? Now, it says right now shoe sizes. So we have, of course, a size, and we're going to write this in right order. It says 12, 8.5 or 8.5, 9, 10, 9, 11, 11.5, 9 and 9, 10 and 10, 10 and a half, and of course an 8. So let's put this, of course, in numeric order. We know we have to always do that in order to get a feel for what is going on. Okay? So we're going to put this in numeric order. I'll do this right now. Okay, 11, 11 and a half, and then 12. All right, so we have all this together. Let's take a look at it and go from there. So we need to do what? The first thing we're going to do is let's deal with an actual graph. Okay? We're going to deal with a graph. So we're going to keep it as simplistic as possible. We know we have a lot of numbers, but let's look at between 8 and 12. So what are we going to do? Let's make our actual graph line right now. And that's what I'm about to do. Make this. All right. And we know we have 8, so we're going to put an 8 there. We're going to put a 9 right here. We're going to put a 10 right here. We're going to put 11 right here. And then we're finally going to put a 12 right there. That's basically it. Those are all the main numbers. Now we know we have 10.5 and 8.5 and 11.5. But those are the main numbers because we can go, of course, go between those actual numbers and come up with our half points. Okay. We've got all those things right there. So what is the first thing that we need to do? Let's count how many numbers we have, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 numbers. So we know our median is going to be what? Let me write median down here for you so you'll know exactly what we're dealing with. Our median. Forgive my writing. I am right. I'll blame it on I'm writing so fast. How is that? Okay. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So 10 is our median. That's the middle ground. So we already know our median is 10. All right. So now let us find, of course, the first quartile. And how do we find the first quartile? Let me write this down. First quartile equals what? Let's count them up. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So that means we have to be somewhere between 3, the number, and of course 4. And if we look at that, we know we're going to come up with. We'll come up with we add these together, we come up with what? 18, and then we're going to divide 18 by 2. Because this is where it's at. The actual first quartile is somewhere between right here. I just made a mark. That's our 2 9s. Okay? Make a 9 right there so you'll know. I'm putting a marker in between there. And we would add that up. That would give us 18 divided by what? You got it. Divided by 2. So that basically means our first quartile is, you got it, it is 9. All right, great job. Now let's go to our what? We're going to go to our third quartile, or a final quartile, but we call it third quartile. All right. So we're looking at this right now. The third one. So now we know our median is at the actual 10. That's what we had before. So now we got to count this. It's starting right here. 1. Make a note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So the third quartile is going to be between what? You got it. It's going to be between the 10.5 and the 11. If we added those together and then we divided it by 2, we would come up with what? A fantastic number. That number that we would have for our third and final quartile would be 10.75. You get that? 10.75 is our third quartile. All right? Very, very, very important. So, let's draw it. Excellent. As we can see, it's 10.75. I'm drawing it right now. You see where the dot is? You see this right here is 10. Okay? That's our median. Our median is 10. We put it down right there. And now we're going to go all the way to our 9. There's a dot right there. This is 9. This is our first quartile. We have it right there. There's your answer, you all. Excellent job. Way to stick with this. As you can see, you know, it's more of a tedious process, and you have to know all the actual steps. We know the key word for this was what? The key word was box and whisker. We know what we're going to do when we see a box and whisker. That lets us know we have to find the actual mean. We have, or excuse me, the median, the first quartile, and also the third quartile. Take a look at that right quick. Excellent job, you all. You did fantastic on it. Absolutely fantastic. Keep up. Keep up the great, once again, the great work. Keep up the great work. Really, really impressed. All right. Get this going.